Okay, my name is Lorraine, and this morning I'm going to talk about user-generated content. Okay, so in business, there's this idea, and it's a pretty well-accepted principle, that if you really want to grow your business, you need to do it with OPM, other people's money. Whether it's an investor or a bank lending you money, if you've got this little pool of capital, and what you can do is add additional capital from other sources. Number one, it mitigates your risk, but number two, it gives you the fuel that you need to really expand your message and really build your business, reach your audiences faster and further. In marketing, the same principle applies. What you need is other people's content. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not suggesting that you go out and start scraping content from other websites and stealing information. That's really bad form, not very polite, and it annoys people. But what I am suggesting is finding willing volunteers, people who know and love you well enough to share that content with you, to share their words, to share their pictures, to share their stories, and use that information to leverage what you're already doing and to spread your message further and faster. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a couple of different types of content. I'm going to give you some examples of companies that I think are doing this well, and maybe a few examples of things that didn't go quite as well as someone had hoped. In the spirit of user-generated content, please feel free to take pictures and tag them with either the Mixwest 14 hashtag or tag me at Lorraine Ball. And if you've got an example, throw your hand up, join the conversation. Let's make this interactive because, yeah, me talking for an hour could be a little bit dull. Okay. I'm going to hope this works. I've not used... Yes. Okay. So the very first type of content that people think about when you start talking about user-generated content is reviews. And reviews have really blown up, and they are found in almost every product category. Everything from tech reviews to restaurants to hotels to whether or not the guy up the street is a good plumber. Suddenly we're seeing reviews everywhere. And there is this perception that this is sort of a young people's game, that the only people that are really using reviews are millennials because they don't really know anything yet and they have to go to the internet to learn things. Well, that may or may not be the case, but the truth is that we are seeing this behavior across the board. We are seeing people of all ages. There was one study I was looking at that was showing that, yeah, millennials are more likely to turn to user-generated content, but pretty much everyone is doing it. Just a few of the statistics. Leisure. This is an area where people are they're venturing out to places they haven't been before. They want to know what to do when they get there. And 85% of consumers said they are more likely to open their wallets, to be willing to take a couple of pennies out and give it to someone else if they have a review. My husband and I, a few years ago, my kids are grown, we're no longer paying college bills, we started traveling around the world. And we're not really tour people. So we tend to show up in a city and unpack our bags in a hotel that we selected from hotels.com, and we start browsing and looking for places to go to eat. And my husband loves to read the reviews on TripAdvisor. And so one night we're in Tel Aviv, and he starts browsing, and he finds a hotel, and he says, a restaurant, he says, "This place sounds great." I'm like, okay, and he reads me the description. I'm like, wow, that does. And he says, yeah, listen to these reviews. I'm like, everybody who goes there loves it. Let's do it. How do we get there? He says, well, we take this bus. Okay, I know where that bus is, and off we go. What he didn't tell me until we were on the bus is we were actually leaving Tel Aviv and going down to Jaffa, which is an old Arab city, at the end of the day. And we're driving down this bus, and I'm looking at the scenery changing, and I'm thinking to myself, are you sure about this? And he said, no, all the reviews are really good. This is going to be great. We get off the bus. I'm like, okay, where do we go now? And he says, well, we go around that corner and down that alley. And I went, excuse me? He says, no, he says, everybody loves it. They say the food is great, the restaurant is beautiful. I'm like, look at this place. Where do you think they're going to put a beautiful restaurant? He says, trust me. We come round the corner, and there's the Mediterranean Ocean. It's spectacular, and we turn around, and there is this phenomenal restaurant, and we had what I can only describe as the very best meal of our life on this trip. This is what they put on the table before they take your order. This, by the time we were done with this, we were like, we really don't want to eat anything else, but we have to order something. And here's the key. It is about peers more than pros. It is about the reviews that other people share that you trust. If I had opened up the hotel restaurant guide and had heard about this place, I wasn't going there. I don't even open up their guides. But on TripAdvisor, where I could read reviews by other people who sounded just like me, I would believe it. Now, the key to this is, as we travel around, we write reviews. And one of the reasons that we do that is we want there to be good content, good information. What makes review sites work is a community of committed people. You have a lot of fringe people, but you also begin to have this community of people who routinely comment, share, and then rely on it. And it's that whole karma thing. If you want there to be a good review when you need it, you better take the time to put up a good, informative review when you have that opportunity as well. And so you see that there's this great movement, and this really is not just in food and restaurant categories. We're seeing reviews in pretty much any business category. You can get online and ask the question, tell me about, I want to know about, what do people think about, and you'd be amazed at what you will find. This statistic absolutely amazed me. 72%, and this was a study from a group called Loyalty 360. 72% of marketers do not recognize, they're not leveraging this customer referral value. They're not using reviews. In a way, that's really good news for you. Because if you start doing it for yourselves and for your customers, you're going to be sitting in that top 25%. You're going to be sitting in that much smaller community of people who are actually taking advantage of it. So how do you get started? Number one, you've got to make it easy. So start asking for the reviews. Have a place on your website where people can submit their reviews, their comments, their suggestions. But also, and this is particularly, we do a lot of work in home services, so Angie's List, Yelp, put those links on that page. Encourage people to go there as well. Two things. Number one, your customers will talk about your product or service in these very same words they will use to find you in search. So all of these reviews that are on your website, besides giving you tremendous credibility, besides really giving you a great lift up when someone else comes to find out about you, you get the added bonus of having really wonderful, high-value content that Google, and yeah, I guess there are some other search engines, but Google will actually recognize and index. Your testimonials and your review pages will help drive traffic to your website. Now, if you're in a B2B business and you're sitting there going, you know what, nobody is going to find me on Yelp. I don't have a list on Angie's List. I get that. But you probably have a Google Plus pages, you probably have a Google page for your business. And no matter what business you are in, you have an opportunity to invite people to review you. You do not have to have hundreds of reviews and testimonials every month, but one or two new pieces of content pushed up to the web every month by your customers about your business is going to get noticed, and it is going to get indexed. It is going to give you authority in search, and it is going to give a high level of reassurance to your customers. So the first thing is, get it on your website and start making it easy for people to review you. And then ask for the review. This is a little heating and air conditioning company we work with, and every month they send us a list of everybody they worked with that month. And all we do is we send them this little email that says, hi, hope you liked working with us. By the way, if you did, we'd love a review. Now for them, we rotate. 1 month we use Yelp, 1 month we use G+, 1 month we send them to Angie's List. I have other clients that want to have all of them on there at once. We find you actually get better response if you keep it simple. Give people one choice. Here's where I want you to go. When you have too many reviews on one, shift to another, then shift to another. The other benefit of this has nothing to do with social media. And this is an old study, but the US government did a study on customer satisfaction for about 20 years, and the last time they did the study was in 1992. But one of the things that over that 20 years that they did the TARP study never changed was this idea that people don't necessarily complain. So if they're a little unhappy, they just kind of go away and they're a little unhappy, and maybe they tell a couple people and maybe they don't, but they don't tell you unless you ask. So by sending out this email, not only are they collecting reviews on Yelp, they're getting those little calls or those quick emails that say, yeah, you know, your guys did this and it was good, but this doesn't sound right, this doesn't feel right. So now this company has an opportunity to go out and make it perfect. They have an opportunity to really hit their customers, exceed their customers' expectations. The benefit is now the kind of reviews that they can get on Yelp or on Angie's List don't just say, oh my God, Chapman, we love these guys. They say things like, you know, they came out, it wasn't quite right, they came back out and they kept at it until we were happy. Which of those two reviews is going to be more powerful? Which of those reviews is going to be more compelling and is going to give someone who's going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 on a heating and air conditioning system the confidence to call them? So, ask for the review, fix the problem, and ask again. Does it work? One statistic and one graph. The statistic is from the Harvard Business Review. A 1-star increase on Yelp will typically lead to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue. Is it worth working hard to get those stars? Clearly, Harvard Business Review says it is. The other is, this was for a company, they are a heating and air conditioning company. They're in Gaithersburg, Virginia. They have a large Facebook community. They were very proud of their Facebook community. That community was driving traffic. Now this, I have to confess, is about 6 months ago, before Facebook changed their algorithm. That's important. This is before Facebook changed their algorithm. They instituted this plan with actively seeking Yelp recommendations. And within 6 months, Yelp began driving more traffic to Facebook. This was at a time when their Facebook page was actually performing for them. Had they not done this, we all know the Facebook traffic has gone away. Had they not done this, they would have had no way to replace it. So we are seeing this with every one of our clients that institutes this kind of strategy. Particularly, it is really strong. Home services, restaurants, for the Yelp community. Those reviews are driving traffic. Yes, Robbie?
Do you get a conversation about shills, about fake reviewers and reviewees from people? And how do you navigate that?
We actually, and I'm going to talk, great question, thank you very much. We talk about, and we really discourage that. And later in the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about authenticity. People can tell. You may think you are the best writer in the world and you can fool anybody, but there is an authenticity that comes from a review that's written by a real customer. It is hard to fake, and we really recommend that you don't. You may get found out, and that's even worse. I think Walmart was doing something where they actually hired people and they were paying them to go across the country and take pictures and sort of chart, and they were trying to make it feel very organic. And when they were found out, the backlash was way more negative than neutral. So should you have fake reviews? No. If you don't have customers that are going to write nice things about the experience of doing business with you, you have a much bigger problem than social media. Okay, the next kind of user-generated content, I want to get off of off of reviews and go to source material. We're living in this amazing age where you can find out anything, get an answer to any question at the click of a button and at a moment's notice. All you have to do is ask. Looking for resources or information, looking for ideas or inspiration, simply ask. I was working on this presentation, and I happened to be a member of a number of LinkedIn groups, and so what did I do? I posted the same question in a number of LinkedIn groups. Randy put a note in one of the groups. I said, hey, I'm doing a presentation on user-generated content. Have you got a couple of ideas or suggestions? And not everything I got was useful, but I got a lot of cool ideas that certainly pointed me in some directions that maybe I wouldn't have thought about to begin with. One of my favorite examples is, this is Jimmy Fallon, and he does this regularly. He puts up a question, he calls it the hashtag game, and he asks a question and asks people to tweet their answer. On this particular day it was, tweet something funny, weird, or entertaining that happened at a birthday, and then tag it with my worst birthday. He does this early in the day, and then that night during his show, he reads the content. Who needs writers when you have fans? He's got a community that is writing his content for him. Now, before you go off and completely fire the writers, recognize that he's getting a lot of content coming at him. And what his writing team does is they curate the content. They cull through all the information, and they pick the very best. If you're going to do a crowdsourcing kind of project, if you're going to share or try to collect content, you do not have to use everything that comes at you. And depending on your community, you may not want to use everything that comes at you. But what you do have to do is you have to thank and acknowledge. At the end of the day, social media is about ego. We share little pieces of our hearts. We share pictures, we share words, we share ideas because we want someone to notice. And when no one notices, think about the last time you put something on Twitter and you thought it was really funny. And it just went by and you're like, oh. And then think about the day that you share that silly photograph and it gets 40 likes, 50 comments. You know, you get a whole dialogue going, you feel good. You are not alone. This is human nature. So when you understand that, if people share content, respond. Now, Jimmy Fallon probably does not respond to each and every person, but my guess is he's got a team. They will like, they will comment, and there is that intermittent reinforcement because the people know that some of them are going to get their tweets read on his show. If you don't have the ability to have a nationally publicized television show where you can share the content, my recommendation is likes are fast. Take a minute and like responses. Take a minute and reply intermittently to some. If you really only get a few answers, like, thank, comment, respond. Let people know that you interact with them when they share content with you. Because if you want to guarantee that nobody will play along next time, get all the content and don't say thank you. Now, the other thing is you have to have a community for this to work. If you don't have any followers or fans and you ask a question, you're going to hear birds chirping. Or maybe crickets, because the birds are on something more interesting. So if you want to use this kind of strategy, you actually have to have that community first. So just as you heard in the last presentation, you got to invest the time up front to build a community that you can then go to and source when you need information. This was another example. I didn't do the actual link to the video, but you might want to look for it. John Green wrote a great little novel, The Fault of Our Stars. It is adored by teenage girls all across America. It actually is a good read, and it's quite, it is well done, and he's...
It's one of my favorite books.
Okay. Randy, I don't know how to break this to you, but you are a teenage girl at heart.
Thank you.
But while it does have broad appeal, it definitively reaches to the heart and the core of the average 16-year-old girl. Those of you who were 16-year-old girls or who have 16-year-old daughters know that life is incredibly inspirational at 16. You are forever writing down quotes that you find and pinning them to your mirror and putting hearts around them and pasting them on the inside of a notebook. I opened up a book the other day that I've had since I was 16, and out fell this piece of paper. I won't tell you the poem that was on there, but I was like, I remember the moment I wrote it. Okay, this is life of a 16-year-old girl. And so what did they do on one of the promo videos for the movie, not the official trailer? You've got this video, and you see all the stuff on the wall? The entire video, you cut to the main characters briefly, and then you cut back to a pan of this wall that's nothing but Post-it notes and comments and pictures and things that inspired. Where did this content come from? They asked their fans to send it to them. This really is at the heart of that authenticity. There is no way that a 40-year-old writer in Hollywood, I don't care how funny, I don't care how creative, could have come up with that content. And as the camera pans slowly and you read each and every one of these, you know that that content had meaning for that young person. And so you have 2 minutes or 4.5 minutes of incredibly powerful and relevant content that they could not create on their own. And this goes to that whole point of you can't fake this. And I think that's why user-generated content is so powerful, is just like the reviews. It has that, this is genuine, this is real, this is how people really feel about this. Okay, those last two were more sort of general, kind of a little bit more haphazard, but you can also use contests and create incentives as a way to encourage people to participate and as a way to solicit content. And contests work when you don't have as large a following, because if the prize is interesting enough, it will kind of move through channels and people will hear about the contest. And so you can reach a little bit wider audience. You may get people involved who really are not engaged with your brand. Interestingly, on a lot of the contests that I've seen, it's not always a huge prize or a high cash value that really gets people interested. Sometimes it's just because the contest is fun, it's quirky, and it's easy. And that is by far and away the biggest lesson we learned when we did a contest. We worked for a heating and air conditioning company. He had just replaced the air conditioning system at the Humane Society. They really wanted to share some love. And the problem was putting up a picture of an air conditioner on the Humane Society website or on the Humane Society Facebook page seemed irrelevant. But this was fun. They are a Bryant dealer, and for those of you that are old enough and remember, one of the original marketing campaigns for Bryant Heating and Cooling was their unit was so simple to operate, a pup could do it. And for years they had this little pup. We found a dog that sort of looked like him, but then we invited people to simply give us a photograph of their pup and prove that they had the coolest pet. It was very easy. You could upload your photo from Facebook, from Twitter, well, not from Twitter, from Facebook, or you could upload it to their website. And we collected some wonderful photos of pets. How could you not love the dog in the upper right? People, okay, the internet is fueled by cats and dogs. We called this the coolest pup contest. We had to change the rules because people kept uploading photos of their cats. First thing, we made it easy. The second thing is we made it viral. How did you win a spa day for your dog? you had to get the most votes. So the contest was on Facebook. You simply shared it with your friends, and your friends voted. How did they vote? Well, they could pick the photo, but they had to give us their email. This is the second contest like this we've run, and typically, however many entries we get, factor of at least 10 in terms of votes. So here's a little company trying to build awareness and trying to grow their email database. And we literally doubled the size of their email list. Now, before you get really impressed, remember I said they were not really playing in this. I didn't have a huge hurdle I had to step over. But we did this for an optometrist a few years ago, and we had people share pictures of their children wearing glasses. And we collected thousands of votes. We also required, on that contest, we required people give us their zip code. So all of the grandmothers from out of town, we were happy that they were voting, but we could take them out of the database because we knew they weren't going to be customers. So on contests like this, you kind of get two benefits. You get the quick hit viral, but you also have an opportunity now to reach a wider audience. The very first email we sent to this community after we closed the contest is, thanks so much for playing. We'll have the winner's photo up on our website soon. You'll be able to find it here. And oh, by the way, did you know that we donated the equipment at the Hamilton County Humane Society, and we linked back to the press release. And just in case you want to be as comfortable as the pups at the Humane Society, call us. And so it kind of has had a really nice roll-through effect. We were so excited about this contest, we decided to do another one for a client that we liked equally well. Randall Beans, and some of you who've been at Social Media Days have heard me talk about the Bean Company before. We thought it was a great idea. Enter your recipe, take a picture, we'll pick the winning recipe. The problem? You have to stop. You have to type in your recipe. And when you're done typing in your recipe, now you find out you actually have to photograph it. So now you have to go and cook it. So you get this email, you're standing at a place like this and you're thinking, oh, I'd like to do that. I have a picture of a dog on my phone. If I have a dog, I have a picture of my puppy on my phone. I have pictures of food on my phone, and I probably could share that, but I don't necessarily have a recipe handy. We made the barrier too high. We made it too difficult for people to participate. And so does anybody want to guess how many participants we had in that study? So, no, I'm sorry. Let me do it this way and be really clear. But that's okay. One of the wonderful things with social media is you win a few, you lose a few. The ocean goes by, it washes away your sandcastle, no one remembers, and you can start over. And so we're going to. Only this time, all we're going to ask you to do is share a photo. Take a picture of your favorite bean recipe. Take a picture, yes, sir.
What was your email response? How many did you convert to the regular email recipients?
On the Chapman contest, we are not. We're not sure because literally the contest just ended. So what I will do is I'll look at the numbers and I'll send you an email or a text in a couple days when we know. The open rate was great. I mean, you know, the initial, I saw that, and the open rate was great. So we'll see what happens, how many click through, and go from there. I think that with that one, we probably have an okay shot. With our Randall Beans folks, if we get them engaged, people who are sending us photographs of beans, they stay with us. They download the cookbooks, they stay engaged. So, you know, making it relevant helps. And again, crafting the contest so it kind of matches what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to introduce a product? Are you trying to engage users? There are all sorts of reasons that you may want to do this. But we are going to relaunch the bean contest. Watch for it. If you like beans. And if you don't know what to do with beans, Amber in the back has come up with some amazing recipes, both beans and beef jerky. Who knew? Okay, the other thing is we live, and all of us live so much in this world of social media that I think sometimes we forget that there's a three-dimensional world. The people live in the real world. And so if you're going to do contests, it's great to promote them online. It's wonderful to send emails. It's fabulous. Every now and then, you got to step out into the real world. This is a contest that a small hotel chain was running. Basically, you checked into your hotel room, and there was a card on your bed inviting you to jump on your bed and take a picture. How could you not play? It was fun. They got lots of interaction, and they've done it a couple of different times. And I think now the contest is over, but they still do the cards, and they still have great interaction. So it's like that, the Brooklyn Bowl. You are taking a picture that automatically is going to tag them and is going to create this library of just fun images. So be a little outrageous, be silly, be funny, get people to do something. And you'll create content that people will share. Their friends will share, their family will share, you can share. Make it easy. Yes? There was originally, I found this as I was doing research. They said it was a contest, but all I found was this. My guess is the original was a couple nights, you know, like hotel nights. That's an easy giveaway, but it stayed so popular that they just kept running it. Make it relevant. This is Dove. And Dove's brand is all about real women, real beauty. You know, let's not use models. Let's not Photoshop women 50 pounds thinner. Let's not, let's not lift their eyebrows, visually or take all those inches off their waist. That's not beautiful. What's beautiful is what women really look like. So they ran this contest, and they said real beauty should be shared. And what they wanted you to do was simply put up a post on Facebook that said, I think my friend, put her name, so she's automatically tagged, is beautiful because. I think my friend Leah is beautiful because she's got a spirit that shines from the inside out. I think my daughter is beautiful because she's got her grandmother's eyes. Whatever, whatever, whatever. When you do that, when you are tagged in a post on Facebook and you go to your little and it says, hi, Lorraine has just tagged you. And you go and you click on it, and it says, I think Mary is beautiful because, with the hashtag to this promotion, number one, you're going to feel amazing. Number two, you're going to go to the promotion, and number three, you're probably then going to return the love. Some people will only do one or two, and there are the overachievers out there. Everybody's got them in their network. They're going to do 10 or 11, boom, 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 boom. So what was the prize? What did you win if they picked yours? Woo, no. You got featured in their advertising. You got your 15 minutes of Andy Warhol fame. On the one hand, it validated all the participants, but it also validated their brand message. These are real women. These are not professional Photoshopped models. These are real women. And they saved a little bit of money because they didn't have to hire those expensive, overpriced models. Now, of course, there probably was a bigger lunch budget here because real women eat. But dead on with their brand, dead on with their community, marvelous viral strategy. It was a great way to engage and spread their message. Okay, one more. Maybe you have a product that's a little confusing to use. Or maybe you have a product that you really don't know all the ways that you can use it. Run a contest and ask people to show you the most creative ways they have used your product. Belkin has an iPhone case that has a Lego back. And they asked people to to do whatever they wanted to do with Legos on the back of these phones. Photograph it and share it on Instagram. I love, and I don't know if you can see it, this guy, he built a little robot out of Legos, and he's holding it up, and then the phone, the front of the phone, is like two little eyes, kind of like Wall-E, so it looks like a little robot head. There were pages of these. I just grabbed a few. But this was wonderful, again, because people had fun doing it. So they had fun interacting and using the product the way it was supposed to be used. Their friends laughed. You get into contests where people go out and buy the phone or the case just because they want to play. Looking at this, I was showing this to my secretary yesterday, and Rebecca looked at it and went, "Oh my God, I have a friend who loves Legos. Where do I buy that? Where can I get that?" And that's what you want to do. So if you have a product that people will have fun using and fun interacting with, then let other people tell your story. Again, I'm pretty sure that no matter how creative the designers or developers of that phone were, they would not have come up with all the different varieties and all the different ideas that these users did. Events. Whether it is a conference like this, a sporting event, a party, encouraging people to share the love, to tell the story, to make more people aware of it, spreads your message. I think all too often, conferences, events wait too long to engage users. You don't find out what the hashtag is till the day of the conference. So there's no talking about the event leading up to it. They don't tell people what they want to do or what you want them to do once they get to the event. They don't create interesting photo ops. I love the little Mixwest quote thing. How many of you have taken a picture so far this morning holding up your little Mixwest thing? We have a few. I was at a conference. People actually, what they were doing is they were writing notes on pieces of paper and putting the little thing next to it and then taking a photograph. So you get those captions. So creating opportunities for your attendees to participate. Props are big. This was just, you had a couple of different kinds of props here. One was just the giant heart. So you could take a picture and have the heart in it. The other thing are these cutouts. These are really great at conferences. A number of years ago when I was at Conseco, and this kind of predates the era of the internet, we were running a campaign and we had created a comic book heroine. And she was like, we had her printed life size, and we had her at a conference that was predominantly male. The artist who had created her had certainly taken what a real woman looked like, and yeah, people didn't look like that, but everybody loved her, and people were taking pictures with her, and they were just taking them home. Today, if she had been there, people would have been taking pictures and sharing it on Facebook and sharing it on Twitter. Do you have a mascot? Do you have a great sign? We were at a conference last year, and TKO Graphics had a wall that you could take your new professional headshot. Did you need a new photo for Twitter? Do you need a new avatar? It was a lovely backdrop with their logo on it. But the photo of me would look great. Do you have signs and banners like this, and are you encouraging people to take pictures with them? And then also, are you giving them the hashtag so when they share it, other people will see it as well? Give people props. The other thing is, give them instructions. Tell them what you want them to do. Now, be careful, because we social media types aren't always good with rules. Just saying. And we may come up with our own interpretation. So I was at the track this weekend, and I was part of a group of social media folks that had been invited to go to the track, to participate in the race festivities, to take pictures. And there was a giant sign that said, you know, you should probably take a selfie here. Well, I'm pretty sure their intention was to have it standing up, but at the time, it was laying on the ground. Okay, we were following instructions. Took you a minute. We were shooting the selfies, somebody else was shooting us. And, but the point is, have fun with it. This probably got as much traction as any of the traditional selfies. And so it was a win-win for them. So give people props, tell them what you want them to do. Be prepared that sometimes they're not going to do it exactly the way you expect it. If you have an event, if you've got something that you are going to do, don't just throw it out there and hope people will notice. What you want to do is you want to reach out to that community of influencers. You want to find the people who have a larger audience who can help you share your message. And actually, that's how I ended up at the track. There's a large group of us that I think they found us originally for the Super Bowl, and so I wasn't surprised when Mark Miles moved to the track. They invited us to the track. It didn't really cost them very much. In case you were curious, the Brickyard 400 did not sell out this weekend. So to give us tickets to the race was a really small investment on their part. They gave us $10 worth of track bucks, but what they didn't just bring us in. They gave us an entire sheet of hashtags and things we could use. And then what they did is they sent us on a scavenger hunt at the track. What that accomplished was, there were a lot of people in the group who'd never been to the track before, and then there were some of us who have spent probably way too much time at the track. But it got us in the pits, in the garage, taking pictures, running to the museum, photographing the classic cars, having lunch, shooting the food, going to the kids area, trying to figure out whether or not they'd let us jump in the bouncy house. Here they had 30 or 40 people running around the track, taking pictures, tweeting, Instagramming, posting pictures on Facebook, sharing the experience, making the event seem like it was way more fun than it maybe was. I love the track. I love the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Brickyard is not the best race out there. But I got to give them credit because it was a great way to tell the story. And they had a mixture of people. They had some people that did a lot of live tweeting, and they had a few people like Bob Birchfield, who was an amazing photographer, who when he got home that night was sharing photo after photo after photo so you could relive the experience. And so when you've got an event like this and you're trying to engage people, engage them early. They sent me with my tickets a short instruction sheet, so I did do a couple of posts early. I took pictures of my tickets. I said how excited I was to be there. And that was all good. Mistakes that they made, things they could have done better. On my worksheet, there were 7 different hashtags, 4 different pages, and 3 or 4 different Instagram hashtags. Why? Because just like a NASCAR car, there are lots of sponsors. There's Crown Royal, there was Kroger, there was the JWW 400, there was the Super Weekend, there was the IMS, there was the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there was the Brickyard. The problem? Number one, if I even used 3 of those hashtags, all I could say is, hi! No room for anything else. But the other problem was because they didn't have one clear hashtag, I couldn't follow the conversation. I might tweet and use Super Weekend, but if I'm following the stream and Tom was there and he used IMS or JWW 400, I won't easily see his tweet. And so if you're going to bring influencers in, you want to make sure that you create this community. Pick one hashtag. Give people lots of information, but pick one hashtag that you ask them to use consistently throughout the event. Also, if they had used the same hashtag across platforms, it would have been easier to follow. There were different hashtags on Instagram. And so if you pushed from Instagram to Twitter, which hashtag were you supposed to use? So keep it simple. Tell people what they're supposed to do. Tell them what you want them to do. And, ask. You'd be amazed. If you give people a little bit of free stuff, they'll lay on the ground and take a selfie. Okay, just kind of wrap up notes because I really want to have some time for Q&A or comments or runs to the bathroom, whatever your user-generated content is. Invite people to participate. Don't assume that they're just going to know and jump on board. Reach out to people. Ask them to share. Don't abuse. So you can't do this all day, every single day. But if you've got a good social community, reach out selectively to people that you know who've got a little more clout and ask them to share first. You know how you're in a classroom and everybody waits for somebody else to raise their hand and ask that first question, but as soon as the first question happens, there's lots more conversation? It's kind of like that on social media. So pepper it a little bit. Invite people on and offline. Yes, we live online. We have our phones here, but every now and then, we do this. And when we do this, you want to make sure that we find your messages and know what we're supposed to do when we go back online. Make it easy. Have easy submission, easy contests, simple rules. Tell people what you want. Tell them what you want them to do. Make it fun and encourage the unexpected. Encourage people to be a little outrageous and reward that. If one person is doing a headstand on the bed, instead of just jumping, show that photo. And remember to say thank you. Remember to acknowledge. Remember that in a community, when someone shares something with you, if I asked to borrow your pen and you handed it to me, I would say thank you. If I ask you a question, if I ask you for help, it is polite to say thank you. In the spirit of user-generated content, I'd like you to do something for me. Today's presentation is also the featured blog post on my blog. So if you just go to roundpeg.biz/blog, it will be the top blog post. I'd love you to leave a comment, ask a question, tell me a story. And in return, you will find a copy of today's slides already on SlideShare that you can download. So with that, questions? Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about the testimonials? I had a web developer recently tell me, don't put testimonials on your website. Nobody's going to read them. You're just going to put the best ones on there anyways, and nobody really cares. So I find that interesting.
I think testimonials on your website are, for the most part, more SEO benefit than human benefit. But I do think it's nice. We haven't used testimonials, and I'm really thinking about taking a little bit of a shift on our own site. What I typically tell people is, go to my portfolio and call any company in my portfolio. I think that portfolio would have a lot more value if I alternated it with portfolio item, testimonial portfolio item. We have a couple of case studies, and especially in business to business, we have 3 case studies on our website, and on one of them we've got a description of what we did and then the testimonial. That is incredibly relevant, and it gets nice traffic. So be creative, but I do think that there is a place for them. And the data says people want to know. Even if you think they don't read. I used to be in that school, testimonials stupid, nobody reads them, but clearly people do. Good question. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, sir.
When user-generated content is inaccurate or misrepresents your brand, what strategies do you use?
Couple of different things. The biggest one that people are afraid of is, what if somebody writes a negative review? That's, here's the thing. They're going to do what they want anyway. They can either do it in a place where you can respond, or they're going to do it someplace where you have no control. So my recommendation in those cases, it's the same as if somebody was in your office yelling. If they were standing in your lobby and they were yelling at you, you wouldn't engage them in the lobby. You'd be like, you know what? I'm sorry you're upset. Let's go sit down in my office and let's talk about it. Take them out of context, close the door. What everybody sees is, oh, she's willing to talk to him. If somebody puts up a negative review on any of the review sites, it's good business. I'm sorry that you're not happy. Here's how you can reach me. Let's talk about it. You do not have to problem solve. You do not have to solve publicly. Because let's face it, there are people that are lunatics. They are not going to be happy no matter what you do. And so the more you engage them, the more you feed them. So the first thing is apologize publicly, solve privately. But if you have solved, then go back and ask the person to put a new comment, to let people know that you have addressed their issue. Nestle's, I think, had this, where they were sharing the Twitter feed and they created a hashtag and they were putting the content without curation on their homepage. Yeah, that was really smart. Curate. Again, in social media, people are going to put up what they want. Recognize and reward the people that put up the good content, except that you can't control what I put up on my Facebook page. If it's really inaccurate, it's okay to comment and say, this really isn't how this works. For more information, go here. Share information to kind of rectify that. But again, social media is a lot like a sandcastle on the ocean. It's really big and beautiful today. And you think, oh my God, everybody's going to see it. But really, only the people that walk by see it. And the next day, the ocean comes along and it washes it away, and it's buried under a sea of new sand. And I think I'm actually using a metaphor I stole from Robbie from a presentation at Blog Indiana a number of years ago. But that idea is that it will wash away. And so it will get buried. The other thing, and I've seen this used very effectively, is if one person puts up negative content, if you have a community, if you have friends and fans, very often, without even asking, they will spring to your defense for you. If that doesn't happen, go ahead and reach out to a couple of friends and fans and say, hey, would you share your experience?
Yeah, I had that example not long ago on Facebook and apologized, reach out. I think it was, hope I'm not being paranoid, but since it mentioned 2 competitors and it wasn't a customer in our database, I think it was false. And 4 loyal customers came in and posted about that, and all of a sudden it disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, just like in real life, if you have a network of warm and loving friends, if somebody says something inappropriate, your friends will spring to your defense. If you're running a business and you don't have customers that are going to come to your defense, if you don't have customers that are loyal enough, that care enough, that like you well enough, again, step back, you've got bigger issues. All right, I think if I've done my timing right, I've been talking for 51 minutes, so now is a fabulous time to break, stretch, post a comment on the Roundpeg website before you go to your next presentation.